Thanks for bearing with us. If you are just joining, welcome. Welcome from all over the country. So excited to have you with us. Welcome to Next Great Step office hours of getting students and grads hired. Very, very excited to have you with us this evening. Our goal is to really help educate you and make sure that we are giving you the support that you need. And I just want to make sure that I'm able to see a few things. This is awesome. Okay, fantastic. So, welcome. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Beth. I am the CEO and founder of Next Great Step, and our sole focus is to help college students and recent grads and the families to land that first job or first internship. And we have been doing this for 10 years. We're celebrating our 10th year. Very, very proud of that. And our sole purpose is to really help young adults do two things. One is to help them figure out what is it that they want to pursue. And number two, how to help them figure out how to navigate this process where they are the ones selected and chosen and feel really confident in the process. So let's get started. You think about this whole process. Wasn't this supposed to be easy, right? We send our kids to school. The school says that we're going to take it from here. And the hope is that when they come out of school, that they'd have a job. But for some reason, it's just not happening the way we all thought. Even if you're a student joining, it's not happening the way you thought. And things don't always happen. The market is challenging. Every aspect of what we thought was going to happen just isn't coming together in the same way. So let's talk about what's happening right now. Every year, 2 million college grads come out of school right into the job market right now. 87% of them think they're ready for work, but only 50% of hiring managers agree. The other challenge is that a few years ago, there were two jobs for every job applicant out there. Now there's two applicants for every job. And many students who want that internship that they know that they need to get those real skills to prepare them, 30% are saying that it's difficult to get it. I bet you the number's actually higher. I have another stat that says that. And right now, if we take a look, 4 in 10 grads are currently underemployed. That means they're doing a job that they did not need their degree for. The class of 2025, when I did this back in the fall, the outlook was that there was going to be a 7% increase in hiring for the class of 2025. But with all the changes, that has now been revised to flat, and it's not changing. So let's talk about what's happening. There is this real disconnect where young adults, they are struggling, they're overwhelmed, they thought they knew what they were doing in this process, and it's not happening the way they thought. Parents think, hey, I'm helping with this investment. The university told me they would handle this, or that I'm thinking my young adult's going to learn the skills and knowledge that they need to be successful. And then we have employers. Employers need talent too, but they don't want to babysit. They don't want to handhold and really maybe give all the attention that's needed. They don't have the time. So we have this problem. We have this disconnect. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover. And as we're talking, if you just joined or just joined the session, please make sure you are posting your questions in the Q&A. You'll see that little icon box at the top bottom of your screen. Also during our session, Meg is our intern and she will be posting resources, free resources for you to take advantage of. So you can learn about some of the things that we're talking about, blogs, books, just things that will help enhance some free resources that we provide to our clients. And, please make sure you interact with us. And again, I'm recording. So if for some reason you need to jump in or jump out, we will make sure that you get the recording as well. And I know I did a brief introduction of myself before. I just want to say, so again, I'm the CEO and founder of Next Great Step. I've been running this for 10 years, but I also want to share with you that I am a mom of a rising college senior and a grad student who just graduated grad school. So I'm living this with you real time. I understand the stress. I understand how kids don't always want to listen to their parents, even though our advice is always well intentioned. So I really do understand that. I'm also the Amazon #1 best-selling author of the book called The Next Great Step: The Parent's Guide to Launching Your New Grad into a Career. I did a promotion for our month of April and made it $10. And the book did so well that Amazon continued the promotion. So it's still for $10. And Meg will post that link in the chat, but to take advantage of that. But just to give you a little background on me, but I get it. I understand the stress and how these conversations go and what happens when we all talk about it. So I get it. So tonight we'll talk about the perspective of what parents are thinking right now, what students are hoping and expecting, and what employers really want. I am going to then talk about the trends. What's the hiring outlook? What is actually happening right now? Are the headlines as bad as we see? Or are there other glimmers of hope? What is the impact of AI? This is something I have not talked about before, but I'm going to do a whole little segment on AI and how it impacts the job search, how we all need to embrace what's happening and give you some insight. And then I'm here to answer your questions with real actionable tips and guidance. And we will leave, after I give the overview of answering these things, I will leave plenty of time for questions and make sure that we are able to support you and helping you with what you need. All right. So let's talk about it from a parent perspective. So I'll say we, because we're all in this together. We all thought that this was going to be easier than it is. We also thought when we went on the college tour, the school would do more to help our student. Some schools are good at it, some not so much. We also think, well, our students should take advantage of career resources, career services, because this is offered. But did you know that only 4 in 10 students actually take advantage of career services on average? We also think that they're going to learn life skills like networking and how to communicate with people and, just building the skill set, whether it's through clubs. But sometimes it doesn't happen the way we thought. And then we have all of our COVID kids who didn't have that, had a disrupted high school or college and it's not didn't come together for them. We also think as parents, well, you know what? I have plenty of connections. I'm going to introduce my student to someone, and I'm all for introductions and all for making connections. But very often, a parent will tell me, you know what? I think my kid kind of blew it. And the reason why they kind of blew it is that they weren't ready. If you're putting them in front of someone that maybe is too high up, then they don't have that preparation for that conversation. Of course, I know the conversation where parents will offer advice and kids will say to us, that's not how it's done, mom. You don't know what you're talking about. But sometimes you haven't looked for a job in 20 years. Some of us are not sure. I know, but some parents are not sure what to do. And the one thing I hear parents say a lot is the comment of, I wish I knew. I wish I knew how early the process starts, or I wish I knew how to give guidance to my young adult. And I want to just assure you, you are not too late. It is never too late. No matter where they are in the process, there is always an opportunity to support and help. So that's the parents. So let's talk to the kids and the students who are joining. So I get it. You go to school, you're excited. This is like a big deal. You finally get into the school that you desire. It's a lot of effort all through high school to make it there. And you are excited about this perfect major that you think you have. You think you're studying the right thing or something that you're passionate about. And as you start to move on into school, you say, you know what? Let me try to get an internship. I hear so much about this. Let me try to make that happen. So you go to a job board or LinkedIn or Indeed and you start applying. And you slowly start to realize you're not getting a lot of responses. Say, you know what? I'm not really sure why that's happening. Let me go use like the easy button. Let me go to LinkedIn Easy Apply or something where let me just submit like a lot of applications. I know it's probably a numbers game. So let me submit 100, 200 applications and see what happens. And then maybe you hear back. Maybe it's real, could be a scam. You don't always, that doesn't always yield the result that you're looking for. And then you start thinking, well, maybe I just need to beat the algorithm. Maybe I just need to beat the tracking system so I can, really get through that way. So I'm going to stuff my resume with all the right keywords or stuff my LinkedIn profile. And then it still doesn't work out. And you start to slowly question, like, what am I doing? Am I even doing it right? Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't have the skills that these employers need. And all this self-doubt starts to creep in. And we can't ignore that on average, young adults report over 40% say that they feel anxious or feel depressed. And how do we separate that from the natural setbacks during a job search? So very often students will just kind of say, you know what, I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to stay here. And then you're stuck and you're afraid and then nothing's happening. So we get it. It's hard. It's not easy. And you're in a situation and a time right now where things are not the same as it always is. And then let's talk about the employers. Employers have needs too. And yes, employers have scaled back. They are not hiring the same number of candidates that they did. As I said before, there used to be two jobs for every candidate. Now it's how two candidates are applying to a single job. So they have these needs that they really want to hone in on. And they also want to make sure, what can you do for them? So often an employer, I'll talk to them and they'll say, I spoke to this candidate, and the candidate just came in and said, let me tell you why the job is good for me. And the employer saying, not that I don't want it to be good for you, but I need it to be good for me and my company. More important than it just being a great experience for you. And they're not seeing young adults putting themselves in the shoes of the employers, because the employers have really hard goals, metrics that they are trying to achieve, and they want someone with skills to help them do that. The other thing that employers are doing is something that we call quiet hiring. Quiet hiring is when the job never hits any job board. It's not on LinkedIn or Indeed or Glassdoor, anything. They just say, you know what? Let me reach out to my own network, and I will just talk to people who I know and I trust. And these are the people that I will tell them about a job opening. Or I will just hire internally, and I'll just see if I can make this easier, because I don't want to deal with the process of 100 or 1,000 applications to scan through. They are also looking for real world experiences. They do want to see internships or ways that you've leveraged your skills and built them in a college environment, whether it's through a club or a social organization. Did you attract members? Did you organize someone's social media? Did you, analyze spreadsheets? Where did you put this into play? And we cannot ignore AI. And I'm going to spend some time on this, that there's places where they are absolutely using AI to replace some entry level roles. And how do we navigate that? So, as you can see, we have the perspective from all of these different parties of all kind of not really in alignment per se. So, let's talk about what the outlook is and what the trends are for hiring right now. And let's deal with the challenges first, because I want to kind of get this over with. The challenges right now is overall hiring across the job market's down by 16%, which is quite a bit. And as I said earlier, what we saw as we thought 7% growth for class of 2025 is really now flat. There's competition, as I just spoke about. And all these industries are pulling back, whether it's in tech, government, retail, hospitality, manufacturing, consulting, higher ed. That's a pretty wide spread of companies trying to decide what they're doing, or because of economic issues that they're impacted, they have to make decisions to hire less or be much, much more careful and choosy about who they select. I saw another statistic, so to complement the other one, where that 8 million students wanted internships last year. Only half got one. The supply does not match the demand. We have a bigger issue across the board, across companies here in the US, of how do we give and allow to have more internships for young adults. Also, the average time to land a job. It used to be about 5.5 months. Now it's 6 months. And I do have students who say to me, I can't believe I can't find a job. I've been looking for 6 weeks. I said, I know 6 weeks. It takes 6 months. You've got to be at it for quite a bit of time. Employers also cite that college grads are lacking some of the skills they want, whether it's interpersonal skills, their ability to problem solve, lead, write, communicate. And we have this AI, how they are also looking for candidates who know how to integrate AI, not everyone has to be a coder. It's how do you mesh the human skills with optimizing what AI can do. And as you see, we still have this disconnect between what employers are looking for and what young adults have to offer. But here's where I think there's some real opportunities. We are seeing growth. And it's funny because you'll see in some of the statistics, and I know it goes back and forth, that it'll say, well, in tech, maybe they're pulling back, but there's growth in IT, right? There's certain areas. So when you think about business analytics, cybersecurity, cloud computing, those are still growing. Those are actually still growing. And we still have growth in healthcare, in supply chain, in certain parts of finance, fintech. So I think it's finding the areas within some of these places. It's not an, I just feel like there's not an absolute answer. It's not like no one's hiring and nobody in this industry. I think there's certain pieces, there's certain companies that are impacted. I think we have to be real strategic, but there are opportunities. And I can speak to even the number of clients that we've had that have been getting offers over the last, weeks and months with all this change. The other good news is that about 40% of employers are planning to increase salaries for new graduates. They're really planning to, because if you come to them with a skill set, they're going to offer you more money. There was another survey done saying that, you know what, we want to see more young adults who have ethical judgment and adaptability and critical thinking. And more C-suite executives actually see the grads now as more adaptable and more prepared because of what they had to deal with the changes in COVID and so much unpredictability in their college experience. The other opportunity is skills-based hiring. Yes, is it important to have good grades, that you want to do well in school? Absolutely. But I think there's an opportunity about how you can have skills and get hired based on that, not just the grades you had in school. And this AI landscape, yes, is it changing? Is it unpredictable? Absolutely. Even though jobs are being reduced, there's also an estimate that they're going to create 11 million new jobs based on utilizing AI. And that's not everyone being an engineer. It's not everyone being someone who can just code. It's how you integrate it into your job, into what you're doing. Okay. I wanted to share a couple tips. This came out, LinkedIn does a survey every year, and Meg just put that in the chat. And it's specifically a survey they do of business leaders, and it is meant specifically for the class of 2025. And I get this question a lot of like, well, who's hiring? What are the top fastest, job titles? So I wanted to summarize that for you. You can go to the article and read it in full detail. Yes, if you look at the top five job titles, engineer is tied to 4 out of 5 of them, right? AI engineer, not even to be technical. It's how do you even learn how to prompt it and adapt it? Your ability, this whole data centers that are massively growing to support the infrastructure. By the way, there's a huge need for water and wind power in order to do that from an environmental standpoint. System engineer, law clerk. I know there's actually been a big resurgence of a lot of people going back to law school, but there's also a lot of compliance issues that need to be looked at, as well as construction and energy. And then, the next 5 are sales, business development, customer service. These are all the very human things that we still need. And even clinicians, whether it's medical, mental health, this is, the human element is not going anywhere and still very much needed. And then the industry is on the ride. This kind of matches to some of the roles, whether it's in construction, getting into automation, entertainment, real estate, education, professional services. So there are businesses and areas that are growing. It's a matter of figuring out where those are and how to align skills and opportunities to see where those are as well. And let's talk about AI. So I have never incorporated a piece on AI into my talks, but I felt like now would be a good time. So I personally have been spending a lot of time learning, reading, trying, testing different AI platforms and thinking about it from a job seeker perspective, as well as how can I, as a business owner, optimize my own business, create a better experience for my clients and my staff. So this is just kind of my little, just tips of a couple things because I think you cannot bury your head in the sand. You cannot say it's just for the engineers or that's just for people who know how to code. It is absolutely not. I don't know how to code. I I am not an engineer by trade. I was in sales years ago and I was in a technical field. So I have always an interest and an aptitude in it. But I think you can't do that because look, the challenge is, right? They're saying that they're going to displace potentially 9 million jobs with AI, but there's an opportunity to create 11 million. And how do you bridge this AI world with the human skills? Because this is going to become more and more important as we have we look at, what's happening and how people can stand out. So here's my kind of 5 tips in each of these areas. 5 tips to know, 5 platforms I think you should check out, 5 thought leaders you might want to follow to learn more. So I talked about it, literacy. There's a lot of free courses. I mean, you can go to Coursera where it's like AI for everyone. Learn the basics of how it works or just what it's about. Obviously, I think a lot of people are playing with it. A lot of students obviously have been using it already for, homework, research papers. I just think there's an ability where when you take your ability to problem solve and optimize, like for example, I just spoke to someone who's in the law field. I mean, they're taking these contracts, and let's say that the customer or the client has very specific compliance rules. They will run contracts through these AI platforms to see does it make sense? Are there any outliers? So, just from a sorting and organizing, a lot of the consulting firms, a lot of the first year consultants were typically doing extensive PowerPoints. Now they can have a lot of that automated. So now the same associates are going to be put into more advanced roles, or maybe they're going to do things that require more of a human. I think the ability to just practice how you do research, practice prompting it, talking it to like you would talk to someone who you've hired as a consultant. I think also is creating a personal brand. It's something that I have started playing around with where I have my own custom, I'll call it GPT, where I have fed, this is a subset of Chat GPT, where I feed it only materials about next great step or only my marketing materials or only my content from my book or my work, and I'm able to protect it and then create content. So I'll say, I want to create 3 videos this week geared at parents who are worried about their students landing a job. Give me the script, the hook, the captions, the hashtags, and it kind of says it in my voice, which is just amazing and saves me a lot of time. So just giving you one tip. And then your ability to network, which is critical because networking, as I will talk a lot, is one of the most important pieces about being successful in the job search. The fact that you can now research companies, you can write a really targeted letter about a person, about the company, about your own skills and how that lines up. I think there's real opportunities to do that. And I had the opportunity to speak with an executive this week who does a lot of hiring. And I asked about AI, and I thought this quote was, I said, do you mind if I use your quote? He said, you should not worry about AI replacing you. You should worry that someone else knows how to use it better than you with the skill set that they're looking for. And I thought that was really telling. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. These are thought leaders. They're on different platforms, X, or they're on Instagram. There's a couple people on the bottom that I personally have gotten a lot out of. This guy, Jonathan Mast, he has a great group on Facebook called AI for Entrepreneurs. It's been incredible how much I learned. Also, Sabrina Ramonov that I follow on Instagram. But all these people, these are kind of known, smart people. Just if you want to educate yourself and you're scrolling social media, put these people into your follow them or on YouTube. I think it's just good to help keep yourself educated. And then the last thing, platforms. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many platforms, but I do think you should get on ChatGPT. I think you should absolutely, if you're using Google, especially for students, and by the way, there's a promotion going on. I have nothing to do with it. It's from Google. They're offering free access to Google Gemini for the advanced paid version for students through that are graduating like through 2026, but I think it ends by June 30th. So check it out. If you just go into any search bar and type in promotion for students, it's there. LinkedIn has its own AI now when you buy premium and it'll help, edit resume and see whether your resume lines up with the jobs that you want to apply to. There's some really interesting things. Perplexity is amazing for research, amazing for quoted citations and research. I've used that quite a bit. Grok is fun to try out, also really good. The voice is really kind of like a dry sense of humor, so it's kind of a little enjoyable, makes it fun to kind of interact. There's so many others. I just also signed on for Midjourney, which is about creating images. Well, can create images and videos just from a few pictures. So I'm still experimenting, but these are just ones that I thought were interesting. By all means, just to get started, I think it's really important. All right. So what do we do? What do we do with all of this? The opportunities, the challenges, the market changing, AI. The only thing that I know personally that I can guarantee is that we will have constant change and that those who are the most prepared, those who spend the time to understand what their skills are and what the story is that explains their skills, how you differentiate yourself, expressing the value that you can offer to an employer with your skills by being very targeted and really focusing on the people who are doing the job that you aspire to in terms of networking with them, understanding how that business operates, and really reaching out to a lot of people, not by applying online, by talking to live people. That's the measure, not the measure of applications. It's how many people have I spoken to over the phone, over video, live, or in person that can help me understand more about what it's like to be in that role. And the other thing is that one follow up, one call, one message will not move the needle. You need to persevere. You need to follow up over and over again. And even though it feels like you're bothering them, you're not. There's ways to do it where you add value along the way. But those who are the most persistent and persevere tend to have the best results. So, with that, let me pause. Um, if you have questions, I see that there's a number of questions in the Q&A. And again, Meg has been sharing some resources in the chat. Meg, you can share some more, share like some of all the free resources, like kind of keep putting those through there. But I'm going to come over to the chat and let me see if I can figure out how to stop my sharing. There we go. So I can pull up what's going on here and answer your questions. All right. So, okay. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for reading the book, and I'm glad you're reading it with your son. So, you're telling me you have a son who's going to graduate this summer, major in game development, discouraged because he didn't get an internship. However, he did get a small contract with a medical company to work on debugging a game. That's awesome. Wondering your thoughts about leveraging this for an internship. My son continues to listen to friends, and there are no jobs in game design and feel defeated. Okay. So, there's a couple things going on here. First of all, let's talk about getting an internship and not getting an internship. So, is it desirable to get an internship? Yes. But I know for lots of reasons, even right now or a few years ago, or the way the market's changed, it's not always feasible. So, I actually, Meg, if you can link. So, I wrote a blog not that long ago and I can repost it. There are multiple things that you can do if you didn't get an internship of what you can do instead. There's a company, I really like them. I actually know the CEO, but I don't have any part in them. It's called Parker Dewey, Parker dash Dewey, Dewey. And actually, Meg, if you can grab their website, if you can stick that in the chat. They do micro internships. Micro internships are short-term internships. These companies are solely looking for college students and recent grads to do project-based work. Think maybe cleaning up a database or helping them with a project. And these are big companies, and maybe they need you for a week or 2 weeks. And what I love about this is that it gives you a chance to get exposure to a big company that's doing real work and you're getting paid for and you get to do it in a compressed time frame. And this is an amazing way to make connections, build a network with people at a company, and you get to try out if you like it or not. So that's one thing you can do if you didn't get an internship. The other thing you can do, there's a company called the Forage, Forage, and they have training. So let's just say a company like Red Bull soccer, and they or JP Moore, all kinds of companies are on here. and they offer their own kind of certification. So let's say you're interested in sales, ticket sales for Red Bull. You can run through their 3 or 5 hour certification of being a salesperson, and it's meant all for college students, by the way, or recent grads. You run through this, it's free, and now you have this certification of I'm now certified in the Red Bull sales training. And that also now puts you as a potential feeder, or you can reach out to someone at Red Bull and said, I just completed your certification program. I'd like to speak with you more about your sales program. So these are amazing ways to get yourself in different ways if you weren't able to get an internship. The other thing is just part-time jobs. There is no shame in scooping ice cream and delivering pizza or doing something that you have customer service, or you have to deal with maybe people who are challenging, or you work the redemption counter behind at an arcade. All of these things can be learned. It's a matter of how you express it and communicate that to someone when you're actually looking for work. I actually just did a blog. I don't always do this about my own kids, but my son agreed about the 9 tips that I worked with him to help him get an internship this summer. And it was not a connection. I did not introduce him to anyone I knew. It was, what do we do to start with who you know, with how you reach out to people, how you talk about your skills, how you have the confidence to express yourself in a really clear and articulate way. And I just wrote the blog. Maybe Meg, you can grab that. But it's really about gaining knowledge and communicating that. And it doesn't matter what the job was, it's just showing how you can connect the dots from what you've done to where you want to go. And then I'll kind of answer your second part, Michelle, is, well, what do you do about the job that he has now, which is amazing, and turning that into an internship? So I have a couple of free resources. One is an internship journal. I encourage anybody is in an internship right now to absolutely download this free resource. And basically, what this allows you to do is to track and measure and observe all the things that are happening in your internship right now. Who did you speak with? What did you accomplish? What did you do? And do it week by week, because very often by the end of this time, you forget. You also want to make sure that you are meeting with your manager and understanding, like not waiting till the last day or the last week of the internship. You want to meet with them, hopefully in the beginning, to have them set expectations, in the middle to see whether you're meeting that expectation, and at the end to validate where you've been. But the more that you can track your accomplishments, but also making sure that you are meeting with your manager, I call it managing your manager, and sharing, let me just let you know, this is what I've accomplished. This is what I'd still like to learn. And I'd also like to, what would it take for me to be considered as a candidate going forward? Are there other skills that I need to gain? Other people I should talk to? Other things that I should consider learning? So I think you can't just come into an internship and put your head down and do the work and assume that they're just going to hire you. Everything takes effort. And the more effort that you put into it by communicating, understanding what's needed, tracking your accomplishments, the better outcome you will have. So I hope that answers about your internship and tracking and getting that job. Okay. Hi, Julie. So it says, my son has been applying to job after job and not getting many interviews. He's been trying to message people on LinkedIn, but nobody replies. How does one stand out? This is a great question. So let's talk about this whole process. At first, I want to just be clear. If I didn't say it before, clear enough, I'm going to say it now. Applying online, especially as a student or recent grad, is very, very difficult to be selected. Because you are a student, there's no way that you are going to have enough experience, enough keywords. Yes, a lot of these resumes are being scanned. And on first glance, it's not going to line up. It's just not a good use of time. And it's not how people and grads are getting hired. So the first thing I would do is I'd say stop applying online. But with that, you need to start creating a list of targeted people and companies. So I have a strategy. It's called the 10 and 10 strategy. Pick 10 people who are doing the job that you aspire. I'm not talking about the CEO or the VP. I want you to pick somebody who is in an entry level role, maybe a few years out of school, who's doing the job that you would be interested in having. And jot those down on a spreadsheet, a Google Doc. Then also line up what are the top 10 companies that you're interested in working at? Do some research, use AI. Say, I really love to use my hands. I love the environment. I like to analyze. Google, by the way, look for these kinds of companies and see that. Because one of my favorite tools also is to start looking for people who went to the same university as you, people that are alumni. People love to talk to other people who went to the same college. And there is a tool, it's in LinkedIn, it's free. I've done a lot of videos on it, but I'll just verbally tell you right now. If you go to your university, click on your university icon, like my older one, he went to Penn State. You click on the Penn State. Each university has its own page on LinkedIn. Don't click on the jobs. Go to the tab that says people or alumni. And in there, there's an amazing filter. You can filter by where these people work, what year they graduated, what they studied in school, what their expertise is, and look for people who are doing the jobs that you aspire to that maybe had the same major as you. Maybe they are doing a role that you're interested in, and start doing that. And then when you are now we're going to get into the part where you have to have some more clarity before you message them on LinkedIn. I want you for yourself to figure out what are my top 3 skills? What are the top 3 skills that I am the most competent, most skilled at, and I want to be doing? And I have a story or an example for each of those skills. So, for example, if you're going to tell me that you're highly analytical or you like to analyze, tell me about a time when you had to look through a large volume of data to come up with a result, or maybe you had to problem solve to figure out, whether it's using Excel or a class project, a part-time job, optimizing a route if you're an Uber driver to see which way to go better. But you have to have that in your mind because sending a random message of like, hey, would you like to connect? The message has to be more intentional, and we teach this. It should be, hi, I'm a fellow alum from Penn State. I saw that you have this role. I'd really like to learn more about that. I appreciate connecting. So show something that you have in common, something that makes the person say, "Oh, I didn't realize we went to the same college or we went to the same high school or we have a similar interest." My other really secret trick for getting people that if you saw someone and you didn't have anything in common, go look at the bottom of their profile and see what groups they belong to. Go join those groups. And then you can go say, "Oh, like you, I'm part of this group." They don't know that you just joined 5 minutes ago. But it's another thing to show that you have something in common, and it increases their likelihood of them accepting your connection. Then, once they accept your connection, you send a follow-up note to say, "Thanks so much for accepting my connection. Again, like you, I studied biology at Penn State, and I'm really interested in learning more about how you do biostatistics at Boston Scientific. And I have strong skills in analysis, in lab work, and I'd love to talk to you more about that." That is where you start to say, okay, this is where you're asking for that networking conversation. So now you've built something up that you have in common. Now you have this, they understand that where you're coming from, that you have this self-awareness. And that is what starts to yield more people responding to your requests. I will say, I'm not the only person giving this advice. LinkedIn is a little flooded with guidance, with people trying to connect. So sometimes people don't check their LinkedIn, they don't have their notifications turned on. But there's a lot of spam. So you have to make it intentional. And you can put that in there. By the way, you can also usually find the naming convention for an email. So if they don't respond, there's a website called hunter.io. And they also basically give you the naming convention. So if you work for Cisco, it's like first initial last name at cisco.com. So you can also figure that out as well. So there's, creative ways to find ways to connect with people. You can't just blindly say, do you want to connect? You have to make it worth their while, why they might want to do it. And then you have to be ready to talk about yourself and have some clarity. So I hope that helps, Julie. I know it's like kind of a mouthful, but there's a process. You kind of need to look at the whole process. Okay. Hi, Ramona. Thanks for asking. So, how valuable is having a master's degree these days, specifically for finance? Is it smarter to gain certifications and licensures? The really good question. We're kind of in a similar mode right now as we're back in 2020, where a lot of students are saying, well, the job market's so tough. I'm just going to go get more schooling and buy myself some time. Here's my philosophy on masters. Um, and I actually I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal on this very topic, maybe a year or two ago. And here's my thing. If you're going to get a master, I want you to have a very clear understanding of what you are going to do with it and what it will help you gain. Because in most cases, it's a very expensive procrastination tactic. And I understand a lot of schools now are doing the 4+1, stay another year, we'll make it worth your while, we'll make it inexpensive. My concern about all the schooling and no experience, it doesn't make you any more appealing to an employer. You going to undergrad and then getting your MBA or then getting your master's in international studies, I'm not sure. If you didn't do an internship or a job or anything in the middle, you're just the same. I mean, I'm gonna say you're exactly the same as graduating, but you're not at an advantage, in my opinion. And I see it over and over because I have quite a few students who continued on and they are still having a tough time looking for work because they didn't get any real world experience. Now, if you are going for accounting and you need a master of accounting to help you study for the CPA, architecture, obviously any medical field, law school, any psychology, social work, those require masters in order to become licensed. But a lot of those schools, even now, are looking for those candidates to have experience before you even apply or before you even get accepted. I mean, I cannot believe how difficult medical school is now. They want to see that you've done lab and research. And so I'm really for get some experience. And if you can get a certification or a boot camp, get some experience, even if it's local. I'll say one more thing about the internships and gaining experience. I think very often students get so hung up on big names. I'm only going to work for Deloitte. I'm only going to work for EY, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. I'm going to only work for Google, Apple. There's thousands of companies that they've never heard of, you've never heard of. And I always say start local. If you're someone who wants to do social media, go to your local coffee shop and say, what are you doing to promote yourself on social media? I'll do it for free. Let me create some content for you. Let me create more followers for you. Like there's so many small businesses who need help or for a small fee, but start local. There's people in your town where you live who absolutely need help and doesn't have to be for the biggest companies. I'm more concerned about you gaining skills than I am about the name of the place that you worked. And by the way, I think a lot of employers feel that way too. So I hope that helps. Again, a long answer, but I just had a strong feeling about that. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay. Do I coach students on getting into grad school? No, I do not. I mean, look, we have plenty of students who come to us in between, and they sometimes consider I need grad school based on them finally realizing, you know what, I want to go for this type of work, and that work, I want to be a social worker. So, yes, you need to go for your MSW, LSW, but we don't do coaching on the applications or picking the schools. We're really more about maybe helping you figure out your path and gaining some experience in that path so you're sure of that as you move forward. Okay. Oh, hi, Eric. We just talked about it. What do I think about job simulations like the Forage? Do employers value this? Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. And I just put the link to the Forage. I think it's great, and there's all kinds of job simulations. I think it's a well worth your time, and it by having that certification, it's absolutely another way to open the door for employers who are considering you that you've completed those certifications. So I really like them. Again, I have nothing personal. Um, I have no connection with them. I just think it's a good resource. Okay. Oh, this is good. This is from Anonymous. So, if the employer doesn't ask for a cover letter in a job posting, should I submit one? Do I have specific strategies for getting resumes picked up by AI? So, cover letters. And it's so funny because I just created a custom AI platform for our own clients for cover letters, and it's only our guidance. So again, maybe it'll be eventually available to the public, but I think cover letter is important. I think it's very helpful. I think that it should not be you regurgitating your resume. It's your chance to explain how your skills line up to what the employer needs. And I'm all for like using bullets in the middle too. It doesn't have to be all verbiage. It doesn't have to be super long. It just has to be clear about what's exciting to you about this company and what are they doing that aligns with the skills that you have. And then you have to show, here's three examples of my skills of how I did this and how it could work for you, or how I've done it and how I would like to talk to you about it. But I think cover letters are good to do. And yes, of course, you can go to AI and do it, but you just got to check it. AI is not always right. It's not always clean. I'll tell you, I'll right now, because I'm tell you right now, I know when something was run through AI, when a resume or cover letter was run through, there's a lot of these M dashes, the long line dash, or it uses the word streamlined, or there's very flowery language. It's not specific, it's very general. And I can tell right away, and so can they. So be very careful about not really customizing it. I love AI for helping you get started. Don't make it be the final, or you want to go line by line or paragraph to kind of revise it, but don't just like put it in there and then copy it and send it off because people can tell right now, even without the checkers, just like the way the verbiage is. And again, the strategy for getting resumes picked by AI, that's not a strategy. That's not one of our strategies of how it's successful. That's not your goal. The goal is not to say, how can I get my resume perfect with the right keywords and AI ready? It's how many people that you've targeted that are doing a job that you aspire to, could be alumni, could be at other companies or just other young adults who are a few years out. How many people have you spoken to and had a networking conversation with each week? That's the metric, not the number of applications or how many you can get AI to submit for you. So just reinforcing that. Okay. Hi, Allie, new grad here. I majored in computer science. Do you know what recruiters think of the use of AI tools for job applications? I've used AI to adjust my resume for specific job applications, as well as to write cover letters. I've also seen questions on job applications that are meant to expose AI tools. So I was wondering if recruiters see this as a negative. They want cover letters written without GPT, or if they think it makes an applicant more desirable for being up to date with the new tech. So I think I kind of just addressed this like, look, I think there's an assumption that a lot of people are going to go to AI and have it check it. But if you sound like, yes, one, there's actual tools that recruiters can run your information through and to know whether it was done by AI. I don't necessarily think having your cover letter and AI run through AI shows that you know how to use AI. That's not, I think, what they're looking for. They're looking to see other examples of how did you use it or optimize your skill otherwise. I know they want these things. I think you need to sometimes, and I'll tell you personally, even in prepping for this presentation, even for prepping the top trends of what AI, of course I went to AI to check it out, but it became so, it kept changing every time. And I just knew, I'm like, I'm just going to stop for a minute. I know that if I just put my brain to this for the next 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to figure it out and it's going to be better than if I only used AI. And I think we have to remember, you have to sometimes realize that you got to think and not solely rely it for everything. And ask a person that you know to check your resume, not just AI. Ask a family member, ask a parent, ask a relative, ask somebody to read your resume and say, is it clear that my skills are, um, hold on, it says my battery's running low. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I'm plugged in here. Am I not plugged in? Uh, hold on. What's going on here? I don't know what happened there. Let's see. I should be plugged in. I don't know why it's so low all of a sudden. Hold on. This is real life technical. I don't know why did I shut this off? Well, maybe this is not plugged in all the way. Hold on a second. Let me make sure this is in. Yeah, it's in. Let me make sure this is. Sorry about this. I'm coming back. I'm here. I'm changing my charging. Let's see to make sure did it plug in? Let me just double check. 6% battery. I think it's plugged in. I hope I don't lose. It says now it's charging. Okay. So even the basics of just having your computer plugged in can stump the best of us. Um, okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that helped Allie. So I'm just watching the time. We have about 10 minutes left. I just want to make sure, I want to just share something as we're asking these questions and just so everyone understands a little bit. Let me just show you this. I want to just make sure that if you want to learn about just the resources that we have, and I know Meg has been posting quite a few of those couple things. One, you can get the book on Amazon. I talk extensively about the process. It says it's the parent's guide for launching your new grad, but it's really for families. It's for students too. Everybody can get it. It's $10. Amazon's taking the discount, so get the book while it's on sale. People really love it. It's been an incredible tool. So if you're not sure, you want to learn more, you can definitely get the book. I also am running group coaching classes. So I do both, we do both private and group coaching. Our clients love our group coaching because it really helps them feel not so alone. I'm going to move this out of the way. If you want to scan the QR code, just anyone who's interested would have to speak with you first. We're definitely running our next group on July 9th. We also may run another one on the 10th. So we may run two groups that same week because there's been so much demand and we've been running multiple groups each month. But that's if you want to learn and schedule a discovery call. We also have tons of free resources, lots of them that Meg has been posting during the session. But if you go to the website and click under resources, we give away how to have a great resume, LinkedIn profile, internship journal, how to interview, the college to career roadmap, so many things because my goal is that I really want to help as many young adults as possible. Not everybody has to engage with us or buy our services. I really want to make sure that we solve this crisis because we have too many young adults who don't understand how to make this happen. So I just want to make sure that you grab those resources. These are actually, and I'll put these out here too. This was like a little extra. If you're a parent and you're wondering, like, what can I do? Because my kid clearly doesn't want to listen to me or whatever I say is driving them crazy. Let me just give you a couple tips that I think has helped a lot of other parents, things that I do for myself. The best thing that you can do before telling them you better apply to 100 jobs or keep at it, just talk to them and help them understand what their skills are. I think we forget that sometimes our kids can't even see the great things that they've done. So maybe you notice that your kid's really great at leadership, or maybe they're amazing at solving problems. Help them to see that because very often sometimes they can't see it for themselves, and you can brainstorm what the skills are and what's an example of how that is. When they figure out their skills, everything in the job search gets easier because that's how you talk about yourself. That's your interview. That's your cover letters. Those are your follow-up letters. It's like everything that you want to say is about your skills. So once you help them with that, that can be valuable. Let's just talk quickly about introductions. I'm all for it. I mentioned this earlier, but it has to be at the right time. Just because your friend is an executive at a company who could potentially put your kid in a place, I will tell you this, it doesn't matter how good friends you are. When it comes to money and hiring, they are not going to put their reputation on the line if they don't think your child is ready. So do it, but make sure that they are rehearsed and they're practiced and they don't show up. And I don't care if it's a casual friend, take it professionally, dress professional, take it seriously, address them like someone who could really make an impact on their future. So just do it when the timing's right. Just don't arbitrarily do it too soon because I've seen way too many times they kind of blow it. Structure. This is a tough time for our kids right now coming out of school. There's could be a little I'll say situational depression. You're not with your friends, you're living at home, you are under your parents' roof or now have all these rules. And all we're doing is saying, do you have a job yet? Do you have a job yet? So you want to just make sure helping them structure their time. They should not be job searching 8 hours every single day. They should make time to go work out, be with some friends, take a part-time job, do something, help them like schedule, like, okay, today from 2 to 4, I'm going to solely knock out like connection letters, or I'm going to work on making sure I have my skill stories ready, or I'm going to work on making sure my resume is done, and I'm going to do some research today. So just helping them with structuring their time, I think would be helpful because sometimes there's too much of like, what did you do today? And they don't even know how to organize that. And this is my phrase that I say all the time. If it wasn't clear from my conversation about networking, is that People hire people. And people that you speak with know what it takes to get hired. Don't guess. There's a lot of things I know for grads that are in your head. Oh, they don't want to talk to me, or I'm not good enough, or I shouldn't apply because I don't think all my 100% of my resume lines up with the job ad. Just encourage them to keep talking to more people, even if it's family, all these events, graduation parties. Talk to people, be curious. What did that uncle do for a living that you never met? Or what do people do? Actually, ask them because the more they learn, the more insight they'll get. And the other thing is about making sure they persevere. One of my favorite phrases when students are trying to, they replied or they sent a thank you note, and now it's 7 days later. So I always advise follow up every 7 days until you get a response, positive or negative. And they're like, well, what am I going to say? And I love the opening phrase, maybe by the second or third email that you're following up regarding your interest is, please pardon my persistence. It shows you're professional, shows you're not going anywhere, and it really shows the person that you're willing to persevere. By the way, sometimes for some employers, it's a little bit of a game. Now, I used to be in sales, and candidly, I would sometimes think, well, let's see how many times you follow up with me to make sure you really want the job. And there is some of that mindset of like, do you want it? And by the way, the inbox is so big for some of these people, they need to be reminded. They need to have you in front of them. It's you don't always have to be the most qualified, you need to be the most persistent. And sometimes that's who gets in front of you. So I hope that helps. Let me answer a few more questions. Let's see if I can stop sharing there. Let's see what we have here. Another question about, hi, so do you recommend putting part-time non-career work experience on your resume while you're looking for a career role? Also, how do I help my son figure out even what role or industry he's interested in? So I think you depend what you have available, right? If you don't have a lot of relevant work experience, I would also go back to classwork. There is nothing wrong with putting on projects, classwork. If you studied history or you're studied anthropology and you want to be an anthropologist, put relevant classwork. And I'm guessing you had to do some projects. Go back. There had to have been a capstone project, a group project. Those are absolutely appropriate to put on the resume. Yes, you want to put that you work at like a deli or ice cream, that's fine. But if you can just show even your classwork on top, and by the way, I love ordering resumes where you say relevant, so it doesn't have to be chronologically. So if your last job was working at CVS, working the register, you don't have to put that first. You can still put it on the bottom because it's the least relevant potentially to what you want to be doing. Put the most relevant on top. Absolutely include classwork. But to answer your other question is how do I help my son even figure out what he's interested in? Start with skills. Start with skills. And it's not picking skills that you aspire to learn. I mean, it can be, but it's what do you know now? What is it that you know now that you think you'd be good at doing? I'm really great at research. I'm great at analyzing. I'm great at leadership. I'm great at working in a team. Help them figure that out because then when you start to come down to what are the top skills that they're good at, then you can take a look at, all right, let's talk about what kind of jobs need that or what industries are you interested in. Get the book, it'll tell you how to do it. But you kind of start with skills. Don't pull it from the air. Don't make up stuff or don't tell a, a kid who loves to be creative that they have to be a coder, and it may not be for them. It's not about, oh, I'm going to go do this because this is what will make me the most money. Because eventually you're going to be miserable if you're not doing something close to what you feel you have an aptitude for. It's not a magic answer, but that's kind of my best answer right now. Okay, we're coming to the top of the hour. I'll answer a couple more. Oh, Meg, thanks for posting that from the chat. If you're a recent college grad, oh, we have that. What should you do? Where should you start? We kind of just talked about career interests. Let's do this last one. Any advice for how to structure your application if you have experience in some field but are changing your field or major? Should you explain the change in your cover letter or not mention it unless asked? I think this is a really good question because I do see this where you started one thing. By the way, you might have majored in something and you realize, "Ugh, I don't really love it. I don't really want to do that." But maybe from that major, there were skills that you acquired And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what have I learned and what do I know? And I think that can be helpful because, especially in your cover letter, that will explain why you might be jumping from fine arts to accounting. Like, help me understand, where'd you make the shift from? Maybe it's that you just like to you realize that you're more organized, or you're more mathematical, or as much as you love the dimension in art, this is how it can work in an accounting role. So I think explaining that in a cover letter actually can be really powerful because, by the way, it's going to be asked. Someone's going to look at your resume and say, "So tell me, how did you get from art to finance or accounting or whatever?" And I think the more you think through that and have an answer for it, I think that can be really, really good. So I think I got to most questions. If I didn't, I apologize. I will do my best, probably on social media. But as I said, this is recorded for all of you who've joined. You will get a copy of the recording. And if you didn't join, you'll get a copy as long as you registered. I am so grateful to all of you who have been here. I get it. I know how challenging it is. We are here to help. That is my number one goal, me and my team. And we have been working with hundreds, thousands of students. And I just, it's funny. I want to say this in closing comments. I know the job market's hard, but I actually pulled this today, just in the last few weeks, last month or two, of all of the clients who got hired, and people are still hiring. So don't make these sweeping statements of there's no job or there's nothing in the industry. Here is just like a little bit of where our students have gotten hired. Miami Heat, Boston Scientific, Commonwealth Insurance, The Wine Group, US Bank, District Court, TD Bank, Golden Swan Management, NBA, Triumvirate Environmental, Convergence Medical Robotics, V-Star, Wayfair, Rocket Lister. I mean, there's more and more. But Prudential Group, Hospital for Special Surgery, Fanatics. There are jobs. There are. It just takes work and effort to get there. So again, if you want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, nextgreatstep.com. We offer a complimentary consultation. Happy to speak with you to explain more. And if you also want to get the book, it's on sale at Amazon. But happy to follow us on social media. We're everywhere. But I'm so happy to connect with all of you. Thank you so much for your time and have a great night.